Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. You already know this is going to be a car video. It is Friday, but I still have to pick the kids up from school, so gotta slide in the videos whenever I can. I've already put out a video earlier today, and this particular video is actually going to piggyback on that video. And you know what? I've embraced these car videos because there's nothing you can do about it. My schedule and routine is crazy, so I have to fit these videos in wherever I can. A lot of these car videos are turning out really good. Y'all let me know in the comment section if this particular car video turned out good or turned out to be a flop. So earlier today, I did a video on Notre Dame and where they're going to go as far as joining a conference. I gave a case for the Pac-12, the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the SEC. The Pac-12 really doesn't make that much sense. They would fit in academically, but they wouldn't make enough money for that to make sense. The ACC, yes, it would raise revenue, but the ACC is in trouble, and Notre Dame could actually be the reason why the ACC goes under. The Big 12, I mean, they would fit in the Big 12, but I think Notre Dame is actually a little too big for the Big 12. Then there's the Big 10. I think Notre Dame's a perfect fit for the Big 10, but Michigan, the Michigan factor is what will keep Notre Dame out of the Big 10. I'm not saying that Michigan will keep Notre Dame out of the Big 10. I'm saying that Notre Dame's hatred for Michigan will keep Notre Dame out of the Big 10. And then there was the SEC. The SEC is a real possibility as far as Notre Dame finally joining a conference. And I already said in the previous video, Notre Dame fans keep saying, the reason why Notre Dame wants to stay independent is because it makes Notre Dame special. No, that's an outdated argument. You're not making enough money being independent, and it's time to move on. And eventually, Notre Dame will be forced to join a conference. So in the video that I made previously, the biggest case was for the SEC. And the more I thought about it, and I'm still thinking about it, the more I'm convinced that Notre Dame will join the SEC. They're going to make a truckload of money. This could be a historic deal. This could change college football as we know it. Notre Dame joining any conference will change a lot of things, but Notre Dame specifically joining the SEC, man, that's a whole different animal. And if it wasn't for Michigan, I think Notre Dame would join the Big 10 because the money is very comparable. Culturally, Notre Dame does fit into the Big 10 better than the SEC, and geographically, it makes more sense for Notre Dame to be in the Big 10 over the SEC. But I'm telling you, that Michigan factor is so strong that yes, it is strong enough to keep Notre Dame out of the Big 10. So Notre Dame to the SEC. And this is why I love my subscribers. And yes, I look at all the comments, as many comments as possible, because you guys have some great comments. And one of the comments that I saw was, well, actually, the contract that Notre Dame is in with the ACC, even though they're not a full-time football member right now, if they are going to join a conference anytime between now and 2035, they have to join the ACC. It's in their contract. That is correct. You are 100% correct. So that's the small case as far as if Notre Dame joins the conference, it could be the ACC. But the reason why I said this video is piggybacking off of that video is because now that reinforces this idea that I've been having that Notre Dame might be one of the 8 teams willing to vote to dissolve the ACC, and poof goes the ACC. And a lot of conferences will benefit from the ACC dissolving. In fact, all of them. The SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the Pac-12. So you better believe that these conferences are infiltrating the ACC and saying, hey, we promise you a spot and we promise you that you will make more money coming to our conference. All we need you to do is vote to dissolve the ACC. And especially the teams that are promised a spot in the Big 10 and the SEC. They definitely are at a higher risk to vote to dissolve the ACC. And I do think that those 8 teams exist. I think Clemson 100% is one of those teams. Florida State, North Carolina, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Miami, and then other possibilities. Louisville, Syracuse, Pitt, Georgia Tech, any number of those teams could be willing to vote to dissolve the ACC. Even NC State. NC State could be promised a spot in the Big 12 and more money. The only teams that I think won't be willing to vote to dissolve would be Boston College and Wake Forest, maybe Duke, but I think Duke would be promised a spot wherever North Carolina goes. So maybe it doesn't matter that Notre Dame is one of those 8 teams, but I guarantee you that if those 8 teams exist, that Notre Dame is one of those teams, because the subscriber and the person that made that comment is correct. It is in Notre Dame's contract with the ACC that even though they're not a full-time football member right now, if they are to join any conference before the grant of rights are up for the ACC, and that's 2035, they have to join the ACC. So the way around that is to help vote to dissolve the ACC. That is Notre Dame's out. So I'm sticking with the fact that I think that Notre Dame will join the SEC. But I wanted to address that one comment because it is worth addressing. We'll go to Blue Dude. Actually, if they join a conference before 2035, it has to be the ACC. Yes, that's correct, but if they're one of the teams that votes to dissolve the ACC and the ACC goes away, actually, even if they're not one of those teams and the ACC goes away, then that clause is null and void, and I do think that Notre Dame will be forced to join a conference. That's one thing that a lot of people aren't realizing. I don't really think it's going to be Notre Dame's choice. I think whoever they choose, which I'm thinking the SEC, it will be reluctantly. They're not going to love joining a conference because Notre Dame does love being independent. The excuses that Notre Dame fans give absolutely make no sense. I mean, they made sense back in 1995, maybe 2000. They make more money than anybody because of the NBC TV deal. Well, now they make lower than most everybody because of the NBC TV deal. Oh, we want a national schedule. Well, if you join the SEC, you only have 8 conference games, and that leaves you 4 out-of-conference games. Then you can lock down USC and Stanford as your yearly annual rivals. And then you can rotate in and out your other rivals like Georgia Tech, a Boston College, a Navy, a Pitt, and whoever else Notre Dame wants to play, you can rotate them in and out with those other 2 games. So even the scheduling argument, very, very weak right now. And then, of course, the last one, it makes Notre Dame special. No. First of all, there's other independent teams like BYU, Liberty, UMass, UConn, New Mexico State, and a lot of those teams are going to join a conference in the next year. But being independent, that's not what makes Notre Dame special. And I made these arguments in the other video. What makes Notre Dame special is their brand. Brand recognition is higher than anybody else. They have the #1 brand strength out of any college or university in the entire nation. Being a blue blood in college football, that makes Notre Dame special. All the national championships that Notre Dame has won, that makes Notre Dame special. But being independent and not winning a conference championship, no, actually I would say that's the opposite. That definitely does not make Notre Dame special. Notre Dame needs to join a conference. They need to start winning conference championships. They need to start getting to the playoffs more. They need to start winning national championships again, and that's what would make Notre Dame special. One of the comments that I heard last night from Will ND, who is a Notre Dame subscriber, was one of the things that Lou Holtz said right before the 1988 national championship was, "We are Notre Dame. We are special." That is 100% correct, but it's not because you're independent. You will have to join a conference, and I think that conference will be the SEC. If the Big Ten was in the equation, then I would say the Big Ten. Michigan eliminates the Big Ten from the equation. Pac-12, and that makes no sense. Big 12 don't really make sense. The ACC, Notre Dame could actually be part of the reason why the ACC gets disbanded, so that's out of the picture. So that leaves the SEC. That's not a bad consolation prize because Notre Dame is going to make a truckload of money. I think their brand strength will go even higher. This is going to make ripples throughout the college football world, and I am confident that this is going to happen. And yes, this is the same dude that up until a couple weeks ago, I was making videos about Notre Dame and West Virginia going to the ACC. I had some strong inside sources that were telling me that, and I was believing them hook, line, and sinker. Well, it looks like West Virginia has gotten the okay to sign the grant of rights up until 2031, so that's out of the picture. And I think the ACC is in major, major trouble because I think West Virginia was one of the teams that could have helped the ACC save itself as far as getting the right TV revenue and appeasing those bigger brands in the ACC. The bigger brands is what's killing the ACC because they're having to look at the Big Ten and the SEC and watch them making a truckload of money. Even the lower brands like a Northwestern, a freaking Rutgers, Vanderbilt, a South Carolina, making more money than a Clemson and a Florida State in the ACC. They're not happy with the money. They love the conference. They hate the money. They are on board to dissolve the ACC. Notre Dame is one of those teams. That's the loophole that gets them out of the clause that says if they join a conference before 2035, it has to be the ACC. Well, if the ACC doesn't exist, they don't have to join the ACC. They can join somewhere else. The SEC makes the most sense, other than the Big Ten. But the Big Ten's off the menu. So putting this all together, I think Notre Dame is one of the teams that will vote to dissolve the ACC, and there will be enough teams to vote to dissolve the ACC, and poof goes the ACC. So that takes Notre Dame out of that clause, and really the SEC is the only conference that makes any sense for Notre Dame to join. Big Ten makes sense, but they're off the menu. So the two biggest things that happen out of this, the ACC dissolves. In fact, Notre Dame could be a part of the pack out of the ACC that joins the SEC. I didn't even think about that. It could be like Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, and North Carolina. Maybe a Duke. They like Duke as well, and maybe another team. But yes, Notre Dame could be a part of that pack that the SEC wants out of the ACC. I hadn't thought about that before, so that makes it make even more sense. Everything fits together as far as Notre Dame Dame going to the SEC. I just wanted to address that comment because it was a well thought out comment. So y'all let me know in the comments section. Number 1, do you think the ACC does get dissolved? Number 2, do you think Notre Dame is one of those teams that could vote to dissolve the ACC? And number 3, do you think Notre Dame ends up in the SEC if the ACC does dissolve? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.